very good evening to you and welcome to One on One here on Metro TV. I am Bright, Nana Kwesi. I'm in from my studios here at Reach in Accra. We are very active on Facebook and on YouTube at Metro TV Ghana, on X and on Instagram at Metro TV GH. Also on DSTV channel 277 across Ghana and the rest of the continent, Africa. Don't you go nowhere here tonight. The conversation tonight was centered more on IT, the new stage, the new era, the new place that we find ourselves, the new stage where every single person has to get used to. And now the Gen Zs are taking it to the next level. What exactly is it like when it comes to IT? I mean, you and I, hopefully we are concerned. And so we don't want to be left out of the conversation. Let's figure out what exactly it means when we talk about IT. What does it mean for business, for individuals, for every single person here in Africa? My guest tonight, I'm excited about because we are crossing border, not from Ghana, all the way from Cameroon. We are talking everything IT. So don't you go anywhere. Stay with me here on One on One. When I come back, I'll be introducing to you who my guest is on the program, and the conversation will begin. I am Bright, Nana Kwesi, and this is One on One. Stay with us. Welcome back. And so yes, my guest tonight is Ebako Mukwele. I don't want to get it wrong. I'm told those in the US say Ebako Mukwele, but I'm an African man, a proud Ghanaian, and somebody who grew up in Cameroon. Let's live here in Africa. Ebako Mukwele is my guest here tonight, and you are an IT expert profession.
Yes, sir.
Tell me about that. I mean, first of all, prior to this conversation, we're telling me you grew up in Cameroon.
Yes.
In Africa, even though you live in the US.
Yes.
Let's be proud of Africans for now.
Okay.
For this 1 hour. Tell me about your life in Cameroon, how it started for you.
Cameroon was tough. Let me just put it that way. I was not from a rich family, so when I landed in Ghana the other day, and I didn't rent any expensive cars, which I know I can afford. But I just decided to drive a regular taxi cab, go to the neighborhood because that's where I grew up. It kind of gives me that connection back to where I grew up from. So I grew up in the slums, last born of a pastor of about 9 kids.
9 kids?
Yeah.
Your daddy had 9 kids?
Yeah, but I had a lot of kids with different women. He was quite a gentleman.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was the last one and a boy, so I grew up with a lot of women, girls, so I have a lot of respect for women. But like I said, it was pretty tough being the last person to be able to come on top and be where I am today.
Right.
It's a very long road. Yeah, so Africa was pretty tough. It's sometimes not being able to have something to eat someday, So I've been through that kind of situation before in the past. But thank God where I am today.
The good parts of that, you didn't let that, bring it down.
Actually, that was the inspiration that I had. I made one promise to myself when my father died. And that's when I was about to go to secondary school, right? My mom was struggling, selling food on the streets, trying to raise money for me to go to school. And I made a statement to myself. It was a little prayer, like a short prayer to myself. I told God that if you ever make me to travel out of this country, I'll make sure my mother leaves this place and never come back to suffer. And
at what age was that?
I was probably about 17. 17
years?
Yes. Probably for 17 years.
And that's the prayer you told God?
Yeah, I told God that. And I had no connection with nobody in America. I didn't know anything. I could only watch, American movies, and the movie videos, all the bling bling and stuff like that. I wasn't so interested in that, but I knew it was a good place to live. I felt like if I go there, I can excel in whatever I will be in life. And that was the dream, and that dream actually came true. My mom lives with me in the United States, in Los Angeles, California.
How were you even able to go there in the first place?
So it was a school program, that I went in, and I got, a visa to go to school in the United States of America. And when I got in there, the situations you have to assess what your situation is finance situation, or the school you sign up for, is that what is actually going to make you to grab the amount of money that you need to help your family back home. So I had to recalibrate my my decisions and stuff. So I had to go to nursing. So I did nursing for 1 year in Washington D.C. Came out right on top. I was always a great student in my class, good in mathematics, physics, and chemistry. So going to a nursing school was something easy for me. So in a year, people usually do like 2 years, but I crushed it out like in 1 year. So, and kind of got out, became a nurse, worked for a nurse, as a nurse, started making some really good money. So I started seeing a little bit of the American dream. While doing that, I had to figure out a way to get into my green card, and then from a green card into American citizen. But while that was happening with the papers and everything, I was going to school, becoming a nurse, working as a nurse. And then at some point, I always wanted to be an information technology expert, which is an inspiration that I had when I was struggling in Cameroon. The time when I graduated from high school, my mom was not able to send me to college, and she started selling food in the streets. I was working, she sent me to some guy that trained me to just learn how to do Microsoft Word and Excel. And with those skills, I was able to work at a little, what it called back in the day, a cyber cafe. Help people on the internet, like a little cafe. So that gave me, that was my inspiration in information technology. So even though when I went to America and I became a nurse and I could make good money, all I could think of is I need to end up as an information technology expert.
It looks like you've answered my next question in you answering my second question, but I'm still going to ask you again anyways. So nursing wasn't really the ideal career for you. You only did it because you thought it could help you feed yourself,
yes,
and probably people back home.
It was a fast track. So when you go to America, you have to assess your situation. Like, what do I do quick to make money to help my folks back home? Because that's one of the primary reasons why a lot of people go to America anyway. We don't go to leave. We don't go to stay. If we had a better life in Africa, nobody's probably ever going to go there. So when you go in there, you have to assess the situations like, oh, what do I do quick? Some advice from one folks to the other. I was able to, say, everybody's like, oh, nursing is the thing. So, and it actually was. As soon as I finished nursing, I wrote my board, I passed, and boom, I was working as a nurse. I got hired, and that makes you actually incorporate into the American culture, because now you're taking care of Americans. You get to learn their culture, you get to know how they speak. While I was doing all of that, I still had a very strong accent. I wasn't speaking the way I speak right now. I had a very strong accent, which it was a lot of challenge sometimes. Back, when I went to America, some folks would, having an accent was a problem. Sometimes I wouldn't speak because I didn't want anybody to understand my accent. I only speak when it's necessary. So then the country has already changed. It's developed for a long time, but there's been some challenges.
Tell me about your young life in the US. I mean, when you were there, really, what was going through your mind? Racism, you having to even answer questions when you know clearly this is not a question for you, but you are asked and you have to answer, just to make sure you're in a safe place.
I can never forget that. I remember one day I was at a McDonald's, right? And a little nice kid walked to me and asked me, when they noticed that I was from Africa, we just walked in there, my friend and myself, to eat. And we were talking, and they could perceive our strong accent. They know we're Africans, right? And then a young kid walked to me and asked me, hey, how did you get here? And I said, we flew into a plane. It's like, oh, I was told that people come to America through a boat.
Oh, illegal migration.
Right. Or through the slave trade thing, I guess.
Oh, I think, okay, he was referring more to the slave trade thing.
So I was like, no. So I made it fun. I was, no, I swam. I
just being sarcastic.
Yeah, I was being sarcastic a little bit, and I laughed a little bit. I said, no, of course I took a plane. So wow, so people take planes to come to America. So it was a learning thing for me. Like, so folks really in this country still think like Africa is that remote. Like we don't fly in planes. And she literally went further. It was a kid. So I was just laughing. I wasn't angry. And then she asked me, hey, so do you guys like do people like climb on trees and live in trees and stuff? I've been asked questions like that.
The notion is still very loud there, like that.
And I said, no, we live in homes just like you. We do regular things just like you. We eat food just like you. We just don't speak like you.
Was there ever a time where you regretted having to leave your home where there was love?
Yes.
To a place where nobody even cares, like
Yeah.
in your station.
There was a time I worked where this guy, I almost got in a serious fight because I got angry. Again, like I said, my accent was really strong, and the guy would always pick on me. Sometimes Americans would pronounce things differently, like the spoon. They don't call a spoon a spoon. They call it a silverware. They don't call a jar, the one we drink water, a jar. They call it a pitcher. So sometimes when I'm working, and I'll use those African words, the guy will laugh at me. And then I think we're in the break room with eating one time, and then they were asking me, "Hey, so do you guys eat goat in Africa?" So yeah, of course we eat goat. Goat is like the most delicious
A good meal.
So it was
good meal.
it was a fun thing. They literally was laughing at me like, "You eat goat? Are you kidding me?" So that really got me so angry. I just walked away, and that's the time I thought to myself, "What am I even doing here?" But then I thought about the prayer that I did. I have a goal. I have a reason to be here. So
At what time did you really get to the stage where you told yourself, I have to transition from being just a nurse to taking on my career, what I really want to do as an IT person?
I've always had that dream to become an information technology expert. So the nursing thing was a temporary thing for me. I was just trying to figure out the environment where I was when I used to live in Maryland back in the days. And Maryland was really crazy, still crazy today. So I had to just okay, I think it's time for me. I've made it enough, have enough money. It's time for me to go to school. So I had to go do my bachelor's degree in cybersecurity.
Right.
And I had to move away from Maryland to California, which is where I settle right now. So the movement of environment and also the change getting to school to do my bachelor's degree, that was the transition for me. And that was how my life got changed. Because as soon as I had my degree, I did an associate degree in computer science and a bachelor's degree in cybersecurity. And I got out of school, and it was just a whole complete different level. And I could see America from a different level. When you see America from when you're down there, it's different when you see it from on top. Because then you see other people that went through what you went through. Because where I live, I don't live in the places that I always used to live. I drive a 2026 Tesla. Okay, so I'm at the level where I look at
2026.
Yes, I'm information technology expert, so I love AI. So I I live AI, so I experience it. I sit in the car and it drives me to everywhere I want to go. But I look at when I drive to other places and I look at other lives. So I can communicate. I can feel what people are feeling when I just drive down the streets, look at somebody sitting at the bus stop because I know I used to be there. I could just look at somebody at the McDonald's selling food. I could tell what they're going through at home because I was there. So I've pretty much been through it.
Let's talk about IT. I mean, since you got in there, what has been let's say, your greatest experience? Your take home?
My greatest experience was when I got out of school, got a couple of certifications, and I got hired by the United States government to work in Afghanistan.
Work in Afghanistan?
Yeah, I worked as a contractor to the United States government in Afghanistan. The only thing I've heard about Afghanistan is war, right? And I've never gone to a military plane. It's not the regular plane you sit back and put a seatbelt. There's a plane you sit up front.
Yeah.
Okay. So
you're more laid like
it was
straight like that.
It was the scariest thing ever. But so I had to fly over there, and but it was a great experience because just the flying over there was crazy.
Would you do it again in the same flight?
I don't know. I'm not that I'm scared, but
It's okay if you're scared.
I was scared.
Scared.
It freaked me out. But I did it again after a couple of years because I had to work in Kuwait about a couple of years ago. I went to Kuwait, but Kuwait is more civilized, so you can live in the city and everything. But Afghanistan was kind of, you live in a camp with the military, and you only go to work and you walk and you walk to to your place where you leave. So it was kind of a little different for me. It was a little scary, but after a while I got a little bit comfortable and just suck up everything and got to go with the flow. So it was a great experience. All of that while doing what I came to do, helping in the military to build a network and trying to monitor things and just everyday life, every day just managing a network.
Yeah. How interesting is working as an IT person?
It's pretty interesting, especially the one I do, because I work at a very critical area, information technology. information technology is a very big word. It's a very big umbrella. There's a lot of things underneath, right? Like people who do create softwares and just, database and stuff like that. But I work at the very top level, which is what we know as a network engineer. So a network engineer is a person that has to actually configure the network. So like your studio right here, before you can even send this data to anywhere else, you have to have internet. And for the internet to go through, you have to have your network devices, which is switches and routers and firewall. So that way your data is secure. So I'm the frontline person who actually configures all those network devices to be able to transfer the data from one part of the city to the other, or one part of a country to the other, or one part of the world to the other. So all those complex routing protocols or all the complex technology, how to configure all of that, that's me. So I have to do what I have to do to be able to build a network before any other information technology career can fit in underneath.
So you're like the big guy who just leads the parade.
I would say a big guy, but we are very crucial. Yeah, the kind of work I do, if I'm not there or somebody like me had the kind of skills that I have is not there, yeah, I've worked in a company in Los Angeles at the point where, they literally had to, they had a network down and they had to air that thing on TV. It was a show, I think it was a soccer game or something like that, a basketball game. So we had to go in there and try to fix everything, make sure everything comes back up for the time that the program had started. And we were able to do it. But if we were not there, somebody skilled to do it, that would not have happened. That's how crucial it is.
I mean, let's compare the level of IT status back in the US and that of what we have here in Africa.
Right.
I mean, what's the gap like?
It's a pretty huge gap. It's a pretty huge gap. I've been out of it's been like about 10 years since I came back to Africa. I was here in 2015 when I went to get married. I never came back, and I think because of the pandemic, because I planned to come back and do what I'm doing right now, but I had to wait a little bit, drew back on a couple of things, and I'm back here. The reason I'm saying the time gap is because I started doing some kind of assessment why I was there. I'm still planning to come here. And the only way I can do that was watching African movies, right? When I'm watching a scene in an African movie, I'm looking like for example, let's say a bank scene, right? Somebody brings a laptop, you're a bank teller, right? So I'm looking like, okay, where is the cable behind the laptop? There's none. There's a laptop that sits and somebody talks to somebody, right? And you type in things. That tells me that the person is connected to a Wi-Fi. And I'm like, oh God, I'm just screaming in the back of my lungs because that's not a network. A Wi-Fi is okay, but it's not a network. Everything has to be hardwired from a company. If you have a bank and you're a teller, you have sensitive information. You talk about people's banking information, names, driver license number, maybe their ID numbers and stuff like that, their home addresses, their account numbers, their money. Those are very sensitive information. You can't be routing that kind of information over a Wi-Fi connection. These are very sensitive information. So when I look at those things, that was just my little assessment just by watching movies, right? But just being here recently, a couple of days, I went to a network recently. I actually went to an actual data center, and I was just crying because I saw just so many things that were so wrong. When I say wrong, compared to the network that I've configured in the States, because there it should be no mistake. There's no room for any mistake.
There's no room for error.
There's no room for error because the least error that occurs on that network, somebody's just sitting out there waiting to get in, a hacker. They're always just pushing things, softwares online to be able to get in. When I look at networks here, a lot of them are just open. They're literally just open for anybody to get in. If you have some really serious folks, I'm talking about some real serious folks that know what they're doing, they could break some of these networks in the split of a second. That's the kind of gap that I've seen in some of them. Now, I'm not saying that there are not networks here that are that hardened and up to scale like some of them in America. Obviously, companies that are they have the money, they can invest in things like that. But regular companies, just going by, trying to get by with businesses, they.
But I believe these gaps wouldn't be too difficult to fix, would they?
No, they wouldn't be. Again, everything is about money, right? Money to be able to get the right equipment, right? I'm not saying get the latest, because the latest are very expensive. But for example, Cisco, which is one of the expertise that I'm on, right? That I'm certified with. Cisco releases certain hardwares, and they use them. They allow folks to use them for a couple of years, right? And they expire, which is what we call end of life. EOL, right? end of life, but and also some of them, even though they're end of life, Cisco don't reproduce the hardwares anymore, but they still produce the software. So end of service. So some hardwares could be end of life, and some of them could still be within the service where Cisco is to present softwares to update these hardwares, right? So it's not difficult to make it happen here because we can still buy Africa. Let's say a company is struggling, right, financially. They can buy the latest hardwares. They can still buy the hardwares that are end of life, but then still have still those hardwares that are end of life, but then they still support. Cisco still supports software, so they're still releasing new updates for the softwares until when those softwares are done. And Cisco announces that we don't release any software updates anymore, and then now they can maybe figure out how to move to the next. So and those softwares that are end of life, they're not expensive. Some of those things you have them like secondhand on regular websites like Amazon, eBay, and all of the stuff. They're there.
Well, what do you think is one of the biggest challenges facing Africa in terms of technology?
That's just exactly what I just said. So they have to. The challenge is that the technology is not there. It's just not there. And the ones that I've seen that are there, they're not configured the right way. So that's the tool gap.
But why do you think we've allowed it to happen?
I think it's part of it is corruption. Like I'll take for example, I was born in Cameroon, and there are a lot of smart Cameroons like me, right? So it's not like folks are not out there who are willing to do the right thing. There are people who want to do the right thing, but like you go to governments like that, a country like that, a government will probably there's certain things that they won't allow to happen. I'll take for example Cameroon or Nigeria. Like for example, what happened in the recent Nigerian election? We all knew what happened.
What happened?
The word out there says it was rigged, right? Because of social media nowadays, they could see people could take photos and videos on the phones and the corruption and everything that was happening. Okay, now, are you actually telling me that Nigeria doesn't have the technology to be able to create the same type of election machines that America has? Of course they do. They just don't want to invest in those things. Why? Because they want to keep corruption going. So technology, on the other hand, eliminates corruption because technology can pinpoint, can track who's doing what at what time, and it could be proven. But when you don't have technology, the right technology, guess what? There's room for corruption. So my thing is, I don't think Africa, it's not like Africa doesn't have the money. Africa is pretty wealthy. They just decide not to do it. And I think it has something to do with politics and stuff like that. But again, that's why I'm here in Ghana because the word.
We'll talk about that in the second part. I don't want you to just say, let's our viewers, stay with us. Let them keep with us, and that we'll get to the reason why you are really
Definitely.
here. What do you intend to do with us and our networks and all that? But like you said, you've seen what we are dealing with here, and you believe it could greatly be improved.
Yes.
But let's say from 1 to 100, where are you going to put us?
I'll say about 40.
Not even a 50?
No, for what I've seen, like I said, maybe I haven't seen it because company will not expose some stuff to you. But again, I can just drive down the street, I can tell. If you drive down the street, if you fly to the United States right now and drive down even in the slums, what they call the slums in America, you cannot compare that to a place as developed as Accra. It's still way better. Why?
On the base of internet network.
On the base of network information technology, that's just development, right? I'm talking about like businesses down the street, what they have as far as the way they can sell the products to be able to push that online, okay? And there's an ecosystem that everything connects to it, which I don't think that we are connected here. Now, I hear of the Momo thing, which is another great thing that happens to Africa. That's happened to Africa to be able to transfer your money to get paid and be paid, right? That was one of the best things that's ever happened because I remember back in the days, if you're not wealthy enough to go and open a bank account, which you're not sure if the bank is not going to close and take your money away, let's say you're lucky enough, but do you even have a debit card to use it? If you have a debit card, where do you use it? Do you have POSs to use your debit cards on? So those are all different technical stuff that needs to be in place to be able to get the communities to function correctly. That's why I'm saying that if you drive down the street to a slum in America, and it's still way developed compared to a very developed city like Accra, or let's say a country like the capital of Yaoundé, or capital of Cameroon like Yaoundé or Douala or Abuja, But now, again, what I'm saying is not 100% true because I know there's some networks that are exactly like that for folks that have spent the money to invest in the architecture.
So it's more about, putting money to get what you want, a very good return.
That's correct.
But why has it been such a problem for us as Africans to invest in getting the good stuff? I mean, you mentioned the fact that people just want to keep the corruption, going. So by so doing, they don't really invest so much into getting the right stuff done. Then once it's still low up there, they're able to penetrate and do their corrupt activities.
Another thing I think is also about the exposure of education, right? To be able to get the right folks who can educate the African community about what to learn. So when I was going to school, they'll give you like a theory, like a big book, just read it. No, well, what I noticed that in the American system is different. We don't really read the books that much, but we act on what is in the book. So you get to do a lot of hands-on. So that's when you start working, you know what to do. Now, I'm not saying that that's not been done here, but
I mean, there've been a couple of times where there've been complaints about the fact that the curriculum here in Africa is more theory than practical.
There you go.
Sit in class, you read and read and read and read, and when you're done, there's no way for you to use your fingers or your hands physically to get the job done.
That's correct.
So one way or the other, I mean, I understand what you're saying. It's more practical to what we do here, very theory.
Yes, because if you teach more practicals, right, it tends to stick in your brain that much. A lot of people memorize stuff, right, and go through and pass the exams, you get your degree. When you come out, okay, you have a degree. Can you do the job? Well, in America, that's another funny thing. When you go to school, right, and when you're doing an interview for a job, nobody ever asks you about, that's what I noticed, nobody ever asks you about your grade. Do you have like how they ask in Africa, if you have a first-class degree or whatever, nobody really cares about your degree. You know what they care about? They ask questions about the things that you're going to be doing in that office when they hire you and they're paying you money. So they want to know, can you do this? Can you do that? Can you configure? They're going to ask you, how do you? Can you?
So it's
show
more
me how.
Result-oriented. How? Is it achievable? Is it feasible?
Right. So that's where we have to start with. We have to start training Africans, young Africans, on how to get stuff done. Again, I'm not saying that because I don't want people, I know this is a controversial conversation. I don't want people to say, oh, but we have that in Africa. I'm not saying that we don't. We do. But at what percentage? Because if we did at a certain level, then we should be able to be competitive with the Western world, which we're not. That's just facts. We're not. But we can get there. The only way we can get there is to educate Africans about new, latest information technology. Technology, 21st century technologies are evolving out there. They're being released every day. We have to incorporate those in in our universities. Information technology schools. So like every school should have some kind of institute of information technology. I don't care if it's journalism or it's just whatever it is, because everything revolves back to that. Even
journalism school like GIJ, I mean, the basics, they even start with the ICT.
Right.
You are still made to go to class and still learn how to use Word, how to even put together a CV, online. So there's still a bit of IT in there. But the big question is it sufficient?
It's not. It's not. Because just learning the basics of maybe just being able to edit a Microsoft Word documentation would take you somewhere, but that's just only going to help you to create a documentation, right? Maybe to present to your boss or whatever. You should be able to manage that computer that you're handling. Like if somebody asks you, how does the computer connect to the internet? Right? You should be able to handle that. These are basic skills that are just all across the United States. Like the regular person doesn't need to learn information technology anywhere. They try to learn this stuff to manage it and also to save money, because if you call somebody to come manage that thing, they're going to charge a lot of money. But here it could be basic skills, right? Like, how does my phone access the internet? How is it possible that I'm sitting here, I'm sending money through Momo? Africans need to start being curious of what is happening at the back end. It's just me sitting and dancing on TikTok and enjoying the technology that the white man has created. How do I create mine? What did they do to make this thing available to me? Why am I just sitting and enjoying it? Why can't I just think how to create mine? So that mindset is where it's going to take us to that level.
So you're saying here in Africa we are more of the users than the implementers or the fabricators or whatever it's supposed to be.
That's how I see it. Because YouTube now has made it so easy for everybody to put movies everywhere, right? YouTube was not created by an African.
Right.
It was just made available to us. What are we creating for us, for ourselves? We have the money. We're very intelligent, very smart people. And when we go there to the Western world, they see that. At my place where I used to work, when I don't come to work, it's like the whole place shakes around because even they have other folks that can do what I do, it's just the way I think. Because I'm an African, we're smart people. We're different. We always make that difference everywhere we go. But we tend to use it.
When the African hunger hits you 2 times or some 3 times, it's a bit different.
Yeah.
When you get hungry and the sun also scorches you a little bit,
yeah,
your brain gets dense a little bit. So
we have the intellect, we have the brain, we're very intelligent. But why are we not using that here? That's what we should be asking ourselves.
I know, like you mentioned, you are here in Ghana to help us, probably more of technology, IT, database, and all that.
Yeah.
I want us to talk about that, but let's go for a quick break. When you come back, I want to talk about that. And also, one thing I really want us to talk about is the fact that, like you mentioned, can we create something like the Facebook, like the TikTok, like the Instagram, by Africa, for Africa, and only for us? Because even the US, there are apps that cannot even cross over to Africa. If you go to China, Singapore, Korea, Japan, they have apps or even phones that cannot be used elsewhere, but just them. Created by them and used by them only. Can we be a bit selfish with IT at the point?
We can.
I'll come back to that. So you're still watching us here on One-on-One. I'm still here with Ebako Mukwele. I want to get it right as African. Ebako Mukwele, who is a US citizen.
Yes.
Born and raised in Cameroon. But he's still an African. And he's still here with us on the program. We are talking about IT and what exactly we here in Africa. We really need to learn and know about the use of ICT. Don't go nowhere. I'm Bryce, and this is One-on-One. We'll be back with more. Welcome back to One-on-One here on Metro TV. I'm still with my guest, Ebako Mukwele, who is a US citizen, but born and raised in Cameroon. He's an African. He grew up in Cameroon. Before he became a citizen of the US, he was a Cameroonian, right?
Yes.
A proud one. Now, you are here in Ghana, and you want to talk about data, the usage, ICT, the importance, how we can capitalize on it in a global world. Right now, the world is a global village.
Yes.
But here that we are, how do we cross over from our little stands to a bigger stage? Tell me about that. First of all, I asked a question before our break. So you can answer that, then you move on.
Okay. So to answer your first question about how we can get there, right, just globally, what we can do as Africans to get to that same level. So I just did a research. I know I've heard about this a couple of years ago, but I did a research and I was looking like, does Ghana own a satellite? And Google AI told me, yes, you do. Now, I did the same thing with Nigeria, and Nigeria has a lot. I think they're actually the first folks to do that. And I was very impressed when I came in here and his GPS takes me all over the place. I'm like, how did he know this place? How does a GPS know where to go to those little streets?
Yeah.
Right?
I have to tell you we are a bit developed.
Yes.
We are getting there.
Right. So, but the GPS I was using was Google. So Ghana has a satellite. Google has a satellite. They use the technology to create that application to everybody in the world. Sometimes for free, like I'm using right now, it's free. Sometimes you pay a couple of stuff for it. We can do ours. If we have satellites, 1, 2, 3, we have the technology. We can see from, from the skies. And that can be monitored. So maybe let's say there's some kind of restriction, right? For how long, let's say Ghana has a satellite and Ghana cannot see other countries, just like Google can. But I think we can push for that. Why is an American company be able to monitor our roads in Africa and Ghana and we cannot? And we have a satellite. So we do have the technology in place. Again, like I said, it's education. Educate the folks, train them on what the white man knows, and also the technology. Get the right technology, and we can make that happen. The only way you can be competitive is to be able to create exactly the same thing that the person that did it before did, and even better. That's competition.
Absolutely, right there. I know that even there was a Ghanaian who was part of those who created fiber optics, Dr. Mensah, may he rest in peace. I mean, so it gives a sense that we've done it before. We've been on a big stage.
Yes.
We can get there again.
Yeah.
That's why you're here.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Yeah. So I also did some research about 5G, right? If it's here in Ghana. And I noticed that I think they said there was some kind of a drawback. It was going to start sometime around 2014, December, and it's still a little bit below, like behind on when it's going to start. And I noticed that a couple of folks that do like Momo, sometimes they say, oh, I have a network. So I'm working around with a Wi-Fi on my phone, so I don't have a problem. But they're using their MTN SIM cards. And they keep saying, oh,
let's kind of refrain from mentioning names of telcos.
Right.
You know, let's kind of refrain from mentioning names of telcos.
Right. But he was like, oh, I have a network problem. So I was like, oh, wait, why do you have a network problem? Well, because the network is not there. So, but why is the network not there? Because it's still using a lower level of the speed that the internet is being provided here, which is LTE, right? So, and maybe 4G. So now I'm here because I want to be able to help companies that a little bit closer there. But what has to be done first is to be able to get fibers across the nation, the cities, right, connected, which I think is what has been happening right now in Ghana, which I really applaud the country doing pretty great on that. Now, what I'm here to do is to help companies to be able to get their network up to scale with the 21st century. Like I'm here to assess. I can communicate, my company and my folks, my crew, to assess the network. They would tell you that is, if you have a network, if you don't have a network, we can build it off from scratch the right way. The technology is here, internet is here, it can happen. We can recommend the right products that you can buy, hardware you can buy, right software you can buy, and not expensive stuff to be able to get there. So that's why I'm here, to be able to build from scratch and also to refurbish what is already there so it can be competitive.
I mean, have you spoken to any of the telcos so far? I mean, you can choose not. Let's not mention the names, but it's just a yes or no, question.
So I have not spoken to them. I don't have to, because all I have to do is use my skills to be able to test the speed that has been offered. Let's say I go to a business like here. If you give me your internet, like I can say, okay, what kind of internet service do you guys use? Right. If it's a business or residential, if it's a business, which I think it is, I can run my tools and try to test the speed. So I'm going to ask you, are there other speeds that are being offered here, or is this just what you can afford? Sometimes it's what they can afford, right? So my thing is, there have to be a better way, a faster internet for these folks to be able to do to get the businesses going, especially with the Momo, which is the main thing, how they transfer money back and forth. If you want to transfer money and network is slow and you don't have network, it stops you from doing the business. The time is clicking. Let's say somebody's running a Momo business, cannot do the job during the day. And when time keeps going, you haven't done your transfers and everything like that, it becomes a problem. Why? Because that technology is not available. So I haven't spoken to the internet service providers. No, I haven't spoken to them again. Like I said, I can just run my tests and see that they're producing on a very, very, very low speed, which is okay for the folks because they're used to it.
Well, we want better, I remember before the new administration came to power, there were a lot of conversations about the fact that data that we purchase here in Ghana is so expensive. Yeah. And so we needed government to intervene for us. Yes. And just when the new administration came, the now Minister for Communications, Honorable Sam George, sat with these telcos, spoke to them, had a negotiation, and now there's been like some measures taken. Okay. Data is a bit less. You pay more for more, or let's say you pay same for more. It's like the same amount you're paying, but then there's some extra gigs and all that to it. Have you purchased data yet here in Ghana? And if you have, what do you make of the amount of money we spend on data? And probably, like you just mentioned, the speed and efficiency of it.
So not just in Ghana, everywhere, Africa is pretty much our experience. The internet that's been bought here is pretty expensive for very low internet. For example, in my house in America, right, I have a business line in my home. 2 gigabytes of speed of internet. I went to a current business, which I'm going to give the name, right? And I did the speed test for a business here in Ghana, in Accra. And the speed was 1.5 kilo megabytes per second. Now, let me tell you the difference between the megabytes.
And probably just so the layperson understands, what does it mean?
So it means that that speed is super. It's like 1 billion times lower than the speed that I use in my home.
1 billion times slower.
Yes, I might be exaggerating as far as the mathematical figures, but it is very, 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 very slow. Like I said, the folks here are probably used to it because that's what we've been using for quite some time. But I'm pretty sure when I asked how much that thing cost, it cost a lot of money for that little speed. So yes, data is really, really expensive, and I'm not sure why, because I'm pretty sure they have, like I said, they're introducing the 5G. Even at 4G, even at LTE, should still be way cheaper.
But
for the
even
folks.
with the introduction of the 5G in our states, in the way that we are, where we find ourselves, how do we make it work to its highest minimum or highest stage, if I should ask?
How do we make it what?
The 5G that you're talking about, our capacity. How do we take advantage of it to the highest degree?
So I'm hoping that when they say they're about to introduce 5G, 5G, what is 5G? It's just fiber, gigantic fibers that can run from one metropolitan area to the other. I think you guys call it urban areas here, right? So you have to run it from city, from Accra to Kumasi and all these different places. Fiber had to run under the ground, okay? Gigantic fibers that are pretty much can handle that speed. So the bigger the fiber, the faster the speed. So if they have to run those fibers between cities before they can even introduce the 5Gs. Because if you have those fibers, then the internet service providers can provide the services to the community.
So basically, do you think we are ready?
I think we're ready because I'm sure the money is there. We just have to get stuff done.
And I know by now, young people who may be watching may be asking questions. Probably because I know there are lots of people here in Ghana who are really getting into the IT space, who really want to do a lot with the IT space. We have some very brilliant minds who are working on a lot of brilliant stuff, especially in the universities.
Yeah.
There are a couple of private universities here in Ghana. If you go to the schools and the love they have and what the kids are or the children are creating there, you'll be marveled, which is really impressive. But then most of these things end up only in the classrooms.
Yeah.
And they fail to go out of the classroom because there's the opportunity for them to capitalize on the ideas, on the podcasts of lens. It's really not there.
Yeah.
They come out and they end up doing something else, even though they might have paid a lot of money to be educated in schools to have that thing done.
Yeah.
Well, when they were in school, when they come out, they still don't have the same support.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the $100 million.
So someone like us,
question.
what are you doing to help our youth? I mean, now you are here in Ghana. We'll be happy to tap into your ideas and your resources. What are we getting from you aside you coming to study what we have here and how to make it work proper? The young people directly. Well, how are they going to achieve from you?
I own a company which I'm here to offer to every businesses out there, okay, to consult with us. I own an IT consulting firm. I have the best of engineers that I've worked to have pretty much, if not a better experience at me. Okay, these guys have built everything anywhere in the world. There's no network they cannot build. I'm talking from the traditional networking all the way to software-defined networking, which is what is known as SD-WAN. Everything, my crew can do it. So I'm here to introduce that to the country. Okay, consult us, and we're not expensive because we're here. Most of the folks in my crew are mostly kids that were born in Africa, and we're coming together to help Africa to be involved into the same ecosystem by building these technologies. There's no way you can go around. You have to have it. If we don't have it, we're still going to be here 20, 30 years saying the same conversation again every time. We have to get there, and that's why I'm here.
I was actually going to ask you to give me your final words, but like you just said, we have to get it. So we have to get there. We have to get there. Let me also give an opportunity again. Just tell us. I mean, we are wrapping up. The final words. Everybody watching us right there, out there, whether they are Ghanaians, whether they are Cameroonians, Nigerians, South Africans, as far as they are black people, any part of the world. Because the internet is making it possible for anybody anywhere else to watch us, whether on DSTV, on Facebook, on Instagram, or YouTube. People are watching us from every part of the world. So tell us, as a young black person, what are you going to tell us? Is it going to be saying that enough of we dancing and singing on social media, and getting to know what is behind the internet distribution?
That's exactly, you said it all. I'm here to inspire people. That's what I do. My story of how I got here is just about inspiration, right? So we have to be able to get there. Africa is very, very intelligent. We know that. But why we're still behind? We have to ask ourselves questions, ask our leaders questions. Okay, it might get a little political, but again, we know how that dirty is. But again, we just want to stay away with regular folks. We just want to make it, okay? But we can do it by doing what? Getting involved in new information technology. We have to get it there. It's expensive. It might be expensive, but we can get there.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank
I'm
you so
grateful.
much. Appreciate
And so I've been here with
Ebako.
Ebako Mukwele, and he is the CEO for MKNet Consulting and Imatech Academy. You know, I mean, he was here to tell us everything about IT and the best way we can use it as Africans. You know, enough of we being seen on TikTok, dancing, creating content. Enough of, I mean, we are making money off it. But how about we trying to understand what is behind how the internet works?
Yes.
How we can make it work properly, how really we can make it actually get involved in it. It's creating our own tech, our own stuff. Like I told you earlier, if you go to Korea, China, Singapore, they have their own technology use.
They do.
That doesn't go anywhere else. It's just among themselves.
Yeah.
It helps them with their businesses, their trade. Sometimes people ask, how am I in Ghana? I'm getting notifications of some product somewhere in China or in Japan or somewhere else.
Yeah.
They've been able to break through your internet. It's weak. You're not even learning. You're just stuck online, you know, doing the whole, you know, content. I'm not saying it's not bad. I mean, people are making a living of it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, if you're in Africa and nothing really goes for you and you're able to make a living off something else, which is legal,
Yes.
it's a proud moment. So you can't take that from them. But
No.
it would just be a bit nice to step a bit forward and learn more as to how things even work. You know, so thank you so much for doing this
You're
for
welcome.
yourself and for the rest of Africa. We are grateful.
You're welcome.
And thank you at home for watching us here on 101. I am Bryce Nanakwesi Meningo on Facebook, on YouTube at Metro TV Ghana, on X, on Instagram at Metro TV GH. Follow us, like the show, you know, leave your messages or conversations. We'll come back to you, get back to you. If you want to get in contact with him, just leave a message out there. We'll get you through to him. And also on DSTV channel 277. Thank you so much for watching. This is 101. Have a good night and bye.